Hey everybody, it is March 1st, 2023. It's RambleCast time. We've got a Corbin in the room.
Hello.
And I'm Cody. You guys probably know that. Anyway, so it is holy crap, it is March. We're in the midst of MWC. And I have a surprise for you. We're not talking about it at all.
Yeah, I haven't really seen anything super crazy there so far. It's just I wrote about a lot of laptops under embargo from Lenovo that showed up. I know there was stuff from Qualcomm, but so much of what they talk about is like just business to business stuff that has no impact on me or other normal people whatsoever. Like it's really hard to like they keep talking about their satellite stuff, but like again, they're not doing like all of the satellite stuff. They're just like building a thing that other people will use. So I don't even know, how it's gonna work really. All their hardware and stuff. So
Hey, you're assuming they know.
yeah, I can't wait for Samsung satellite to show up on the next Galaxy phones.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't think it's going to be... Well, I don't want to make too harsh a judgment on it. I don't think there's anything wrong with what they're likely to be building. But at the same time, how many people are necessarily going to be using it?
I don't know. The one thing that makes it somewhat interesting is that Qualcomm is building its satellite thing as a not just for emergencies thing, whereas
True.
Apple's is very purely like one way, like my life is in danger, get someone out here.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know how well it's gonna work. We'll find out, I guess, but it's just it's hard to get excited when Qualcomm's like, we're working on this thing. Here is 40% of what this needs, and someone else has to build the other 60% when they make their phone. So
yeah, that's true.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. It until there is a thing that appreciably leapfrogs Apple and it is usable and in phones, I don't feel like this is going to make a super interesting announcement. And also, I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get something out, but also worth questioning, is it possible Apple will leapfrog Apple before that happens?
Yeah.
Like, next thing you know, all of a sudden Apple comes out with a phone and is like, oh yeah, by the way, this doesn't even require a cellular connection anymore. You can go fully satellite. Everything just works. I don't think that's going to happen, but it'd be hilarious if it did. Also, please don't let that actually happen.
Yeah, it does seem like the infrastructure they've been building is very geared towards like one-way communication, which would make that more difficult.
Yeah, at least for now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they might figure out something that works better later. I'm not sure.
But yeah, we'll certainly see. Eventually, kind of, maybe. But yeah, so MWC, I don't know. I've tried watching all kinds of stuff fly by, and everything I've seen is, yeah, it's really minor announcements. It's, oh, damn it, that's right. There was one thing. Technically, MWC was the announcement time frame, though I don't think it was actually announced there. OnePlus is doing a folding phone. Woo, nobody knew that was coming. Let's pretend. And I didn't read any details on it, but
knowing OnePlus, they probably just said they're building a folding phone and that's it.
Yeah, I didn't read details. I saw someone's quick comment about it, basically saying, that's it? Like, they didn't have more to say? So, yeah, I get the impression that they probably, like, they're more announcing an intention to do it rather than a product that is due to come.
Yeah, but we'll see. So in terms of things that are actually interesting, what did you have anything specific to do first, or
I did not really plan a first, but I figured you probably wanted to start off with Flipboard.
sure? Where did I put that?
In my RambleCast chat room, or I
There it
will
is.
just paste it into YouTube chat.
I found it. You're gonna have to paste everything else in YouTube chat though, because I think that's the only one I see. So yeah, this was pretty recent. There's been a couple sort of news / social media companies and tools that have been slowly building up some level of support for Mastodon. Like I think like one of the ones I'm still really happy about is Buffer working with Mastodon, where I can make like really nice posts for Tech Tales and have them go out and scheduled on the Twitter and Mastodon accounts, and like make sure the usernames for both platforms are right, and like move them around and add media and stuff. Like I really like Buffer's Mastodon stuff. And there's now another like sort of long time utility that is going hard on Mastodon, which is a Flipboard, which I don't think I've ever personally used, but I know people really liked it like 10 years ago, and it was pre-installed on like some Samsung phones for a long time after that, so people kind of used it just because it was there. And I think that I don't know how long that lasted, but people still use it. I don't, but people like it. That's cool. For anyone who doesn't know what this is, it's like kind of a news reader, but it's leaning towards Google News, where it's like partially algorithm based, but you can also have stuff you follow purposefully, and it had some integration with Twitter, which is why they're doing Mastodon now, where like if you connected your Twitter account, you could like put Twitter users into lists and then see the stuff in those lists alongside your feed. So like you know scroll through a couple normal articles, and then it would like pull some from Twitter that you want in there. So
okay, so really quick, I'm going to say thank you for preemptively telling me what the hell Flipboard was, because my only exposure to Flipboard was in fact using it, or not using it, but having it on a Samsung phone back before anyone else could get Google Feed.
yeah.
And so that was basically the thing that they offered as a replacement for Google Feed, or Discover, whatever we're going to call it. And I remember I like accidentally swiping over to it several times and thinking, damn it, get rid of this thing. And I think you couldn't get rid of it when the phone shipped, but they added an option or toggle later to remove it. Anyway, yeah, I hated it. So, yeah, that was the closest I ever got. I didn't really understand how Flipboard made sense for social. Now it makes a little more sense. Not enough.
It's basically Google News and like stuff like Google News, but like a little bit more focused. And there's like a much heavier social element. So there's like, here's what like your friends on Twitter are like sharing news articles. Like here's the stuff that they're sharing in addition to like whatever Flipboard wants to feed you and maybe other sources you've added. So it's like kind of Google News, kind of like an RSS reader, kind of a like Twitter front end, kind of sorta. It's just so it's a lot of things, but The new news is that they are beta testing Mastodon support in the iPhone app. Android support is coming soon. So, once again, there's a Mastodon app that is coming to iPhone first.
Of course.
It's kind of funny.
Is it?
Yeah. So it's just like the Twitter support where you have all your news, and then you can also I'll read what they say actually instead of trying to rephrase it. Um, they said once you have a Mastodon account, you can connect it to your Flipboard to flip through and interact with your Mastodon timelines in beautiful Flipboard fashion. You can reply, favorite, boost, and post directly to Mastodon. You can also flip interesting posts you discover on Mastodon into your magazines for other Flipboard users to enjoy. And you can even flip stories you see anywhere on Flipboard of Mastodon so that others in the Fediverse can discover them too. So basically what they did for Twitter, but also Mastodon.
Which is, that's good, I guess.
Yeah. This is not what I would call a Mastodon client, but it does operate in that fashion as like a side thing now.
Yeah, and that I found kind of, well, I guess the thing that jumped out at me is why would somebody use it? And part of that I think can be answered by saying, oh, you might use it because this is a thing that's actually got, I guess they're spending money on it. So, as opposed to regular Mastodon, where honestly their web client interface has not improved that much. Like it has improved, but it's not improving it like paid for pace. I could see maybe Flipboard is going to try to create a good web client that people will look at and go, oh yeah, I'd rather use this, which obviously is good for them.
Yeah. So yeah, they're trying to integrate like posts from Mastodon in this like general newsreader thing. But also the other interesting thing is that they have started up a Mastodon server at flipboard.social. So there is yet another Mastodon server from a large corporation, which not everyone likes, but more capacity is always appreciated, probably. And I was looking through their like terms of service and like their rules and stuff, and they seem to have pretty decent like community rules. I don't know how well they're enforcing them because I'm not there, but it's
they just started.
Yeah, they just started. I think it's still invite only for a while, but. I was looking, they had like the normal rules you'd find on most other Mastodon servers, and they had like a laundry list of like block servers. I guess they got it from one of the big block lists. So, so they're doing that, and then also at the end of this blog post, they mentioned that their Flipboard is exploring how best to implement ActivityPub so that we can federate our unique ecosystem with every service and user in the Fediverse. This will make it possible for users on Mastodon or other Fediverse services to follow content creators, curators, and magazines on Flipboard. So they're doing all this, plus they're like looking into what Tumblr is looking into, which is like trying to open up their user base to cross-compatible networks,
which is interesting. I mean, they're I don't want to say they're throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks, but that's kind of the path here to an extent.
Yeah, like I'm not sure how much of like an impact that specifically will make compared to like Tumblr flipping the switch, but that's still something. And I know like one of the things that really gets some people's pants in a wad is the large organizations and companies that are like starting to target Mastodon, but also like kind of don't try to like look at the rest of this whole ecosystem. Like there's definitely a like it's you know what you refer to as Linux is actually GNU slash Linux, like that kind of mindset, which I can understand sometimes, and also like I think Mastodon itself is like maybe a little bit like encourage that behavior, but like this seems like for those kinds of people like probably best case scenario, like it's still a evil capitalist company investing in this stuff, but they're very like, we're building Mastodon API stuff, we're making a Mastodon server, we're like looking at ActivityPub on non-Mastodon stuff as well. So
somehow I'm imagining that there's somebody who works at Flipboard who is probably their resident open source guy, and they asked him, "Hey, you need to run lead on this and tell us what not to do. Just tell us what to do, what not to do. We'll make it work, okay?"
Yeah, it's very possible. That has been like a very common discourse that I've seen on the trending posts, and also like it was very briefly targeted at me because at one point I wrote an article that was like, I think the title was like Tumblr and Flickr will soon join the Mastodon social media network or something. I said something like that. And someone got very upset and got some boost that like I didn't say joining the Fediverse.
Yeah.
Even though, like, again, if they click, like, I try to do a good job. Like, if they click on the article, they would have seen that I explain what Mastodon is and how it connects to this larger thing. But people get upset at the title specifically, when the point of the title is to like very briefly explain what's going on and why it matters. So
communicate the basics and not worry about the or well, you worry about the details, but you don't need to get everything fit into a title. Which a lot of people do not really fully understand how news or publishing works. Especially the people who get angry at that stuff.
Yeah, especially with David's here. Hello.
Hey, David. How's it going?
Especially when the conversation shifts to like where you have to be like, a lot of these people want you to be very specific in what you're describing this as, but when you do that, it's a thing that like normal people do not understand. Like if I say I have an account on the Fediverse, no one knows what that means. And like,
fun fact, your neighbor cannot understand those words. But if you say Mastodon, they probably still don't understand it, but there's at least like a 80% higher chance that they would.
Yeah. And if you start with Mastodon and then go on to explain that like, oh yeah, it's just like one part of this big thing where everyone can talk to each other, most people are going to be like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. And there's now a dog barking in the background. I don't know if you can hear that.
Oh, actually, yeah. For once, okay. I definitely hear the loud, obnoxious thing.
Yeah.
You always mention like your air conditioner and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I can't fucking hear him.
Yeah.
But yeah, for once, dog, very, very audible.
Loud dog.
Always fun to live in apartments.
Yeah, especially an apartment that is next to where a lot of people walk their dogs. So yes,
is that why you chose it?
No, actually, I didn't know that. It's convenient for me when I need to let my dog go to the bathroom outside, but not convenient at every other time.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh well. So yeah, that's the Flipboard stuff. Kind of interesting. I might play with it at some point, but I've been a little busy with other stuff.
Oh, David, you're right. I did forget to post that to Discord. I am doing right now.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't have anything against this. I think it's perfectly fine. I'm a little curious to see how this does play out, because at a certain point, like I asked before, how many people are actually going to use this? I do kind of question if this is really headed down a path where this is going to bring a lot of people back to Flipboard, or if Flipboard's going to produce something that interests enough people. And I don't know how busy Flipboard is now. If someone told me it was still in existence, I would have asked you, like, tell me more. I don't believe you. But
this could very well be one of those situations where like there's like some YouTuber that you've never heard of before, but they have like 3 billion subscribers.
Yeah, kind of like that's kind of the Pinterest thing. People tell me that Pinterest was super busy at one point, and I remember just saying, how? Like, it's literally just like a bookmarking thing you can share, isn't it? And whoever told me that Pinterest was really so like popping off, I remember thinking or I remember them saying, oh yeah, I don't know either. Mm-hmm. I just know it's super busy, and that's my confusion.
Well, according to the Apple App Store, Flipboard is number 55 in the news category on iPhone.
That doesn't seem good.
That's not like a super big, but that is like new downloads. So it's not the entire story.
Okay, well, I guess that's fair. Because when I hear something in a specific category is that far down, and if it's anything but a game, then I start thinking, yeah, that means it's probably dead.
Mm-hmm.
Being that low, well, I suppose there are a few other categories where I wouldn't think too negatively being in the 50s, but news seems like something you can't be that low and call yourself successful.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they post active numbers anywhere, but yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I am still interested to see where Mozilla is going to try to make moves, because that dog is still really loud, but
it is.
Mozilla is still supposed to spin up their own server at some point, and they also turned out to be one of the VC investors in a Mastodon app that just launched on iPhone, which is supposedly not that great of an app, and also like heavily pushes you to sign up at their Mastodon server. So yeah. Chalk another way I'm disappointed at what Mozilla has become. Just really, I'm not mad. I'm just really disappointed.
Right. They really followed the Netscape lifeline. Which is, I get it. Like, what are you gonna do? But at the same time, geez, they're embarrassing themselves.
Yeah, like they didn't like hop on this at all until like the most recent push with Twitter. Even though like Mozilla's been in the open source sphere for forever, and that's where Mastodon has been doing kind of okay for a long time. So it just kind of seems the trendy thing for them to do, which kind of annoys me a little bit. But so that's the thing that's happening. If you want, I can talk about Bing for a little bit.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I got access to the new Bing a couple days ago, and I've been working on hashtag content about it for work. And
urban content creator.
Yes, and it's interesting. I used ChatGPT a little bit when I first got access to it, and there was some interesting stuff, but like I didn't really find a use for it really, because like when ChatGPT came out, a lot of people were like fixated on the writing part of it, where it's like, write me long form text about a thing, or write it in like this voice, and like that's not really something I wanted to do. I know like also people are using it for like coding stuff, which I might go back to. I'm experimenting with that with Bing right now. But I got access to the Bing stuff, and it's interesting because this is heavily based on ChatGPT and like OpenAI stuff, because Microsoft is basically the only reason OpenAI is functioning right now. Like they're dumping money into this, and so this is based on a lot of that stuff. But the main difference is that ChatGPT uses a AI model where all of the data comes from like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's that limits it in its usefulness. But what Bing is a little bit different because it's using, I don't know if it's that exact same model or if it's something very similar to it, but it's using that model but augmented with web results. So it can also pull data from the web on the fly, in addition to its understanding of the world from whatever secret model it has. The Bing stuff's also been interesting because Microsoft is very rapidly updating it, where like they'll make some stuff worse and then better again, and then they'll tweak it further. I've been going through posts on the Microsoft Bing subreddit where they've been like cataloging the ways they've like got it to say it's depressed and that kind of thing, and then Microsoft will roll it back and they'll be like, no, Microsoft neutered it. I hate it now, turn it back. So there's been a lot of that back and forth, and like right now Microsoft's still tweaking that they found out the main way people fuck with this is just to have really long conversations where they like get it closer and closer into a corner where it'll say something dumb. So like right now it will cut off every conversation at I think 6 messages. So you can get 6 messages. Yeah. So that's kind of a big limitation right now. But like they're also tweaking how like answer stuff. So it seems like after they get like that narrowed down, maybe they'll open it back up. I'm not sure, but it's very interesting. Like this is like very, very rapid development and turnaround on this. Presumably because Microsoft doesn't want the same, lovely news articles that came out for ChatGPT when it was new about how wrong it was and how you get it to do bad things.
I mean, that ship has sailed, but
it has. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't watch it, but John Oliver did his newest thing was about AI stuff like this, and he talked about this. I haven't seen that though. I'm sure he made some moderately funny digs.
I actually did watch it. Weirdly, that one did not stick with me though. Almost everything he said was pretty much the same stuff that we've been saying for months now. It's interesting. One of these days it'll make really good tools, and in certain ways AI has obviously already been a really good tool. However, it's also being used very, very ineffectually to write content. It's kind of been it's being overused and overhyped in a lot of ways that don't make sense. The same stuff that, again, like we've all been saying for a while. He actually did not break a lot of ground on this one.
And also like the other difference with Bing, and I know we talked about this in a previous RambleCast, is that Bing cites sources.
Yes,
which is that's better. It's still gonna like probably get it wrong sometimes. So this is very much a Wikipedia situation where like if you want to make sure, you need to like actually go to the links and figure out. And also I've found some like really low quality like SEO bait in its sources for some queries. So hopefully they'll get better at that. So yeah, that's what I've been like playing with, is like what can Bing do that is not like super mission critical, that needs to be like right, but also isn't just writing out long batches of text, because I think that's what everyone is hyper focusing on. So I've been playing with it. Let me see. I've been writing down a list of some of the stuff I found out it does kind of well. It's like the value of this to me, I think, where it makes sense is very hyper specific questions that are also sometimes multi-step. So like if I'm asking this, like you can ask this, like tell me the differences or compare and contrast the Galaxy S23 to the iPhone 14. I can do that with this, but there's a lot of content from humans who have used the phone that's probably going to be better. But what it can do is like compare things that probably like a person has not compared. Like I was trying to test the limits, so I put in like compare a phone to a dinosaur, and it was very funny because it like made a table where it's like neck, the dinosaur is like 10 meters, the phone no neck. It was kind of funny, but so stuff like that. I tried giving it the model number of an SSD and the model number of my Dell laptop and asked, will the SSD work with the laptop? And it was able to surmise that because the SSD is a SATA SSD and the laptop only has an M.2 slot, they would not work. So that's useful. That's something that would take 2 or 3 web searches to figure out if you weren't familiar with this stuff.
Well, and
assuming it's right, again, you gotta like check it.
Yeah, always have to check. But the neat part about that, the thing that I think is actually legitimately valuable there, and this is where I see the most value in these kinds of things, is to somebody who knows this stuff, all it takes is a couple web searches to realize, oh, they're incompatible due to form factor and design. To someone who knows nothing about this stuff, you ask this question and it's like, oh, wait, what the hell? There are 2 different types. Okay, I need to look into this and discover that. And that to me is the far more effective way to use these things, or one of the really effective ways, because it won't necessarily tell you a thing that's right, but it might stumble onto telling you a thing that you need to consider.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much like Wikipedia, where you like get to an article, you're like, I've never heard of this before. Let me read about this some more. And then it like jumps off, and then you're, it's 2 a.m. and you're reading about
a wiki hole.
We're down the wiki hole.
Hey, Carson.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty good with those like things that are still maybe simple web searches, but would be multiple steps, and also comparisons where a human might not have done that exact comparison you're asking for. I was also trying to play around with I was trying it with like date and time conversions, which is something that I use a lot with Wolfram Alpha, where like if someone gives me, because like with my work, when I get an embargo, they'll give me a date and time and then a time zone, and it can be any number of time zones. Sometimes it's a US time zone, sometimes it's somewhere in Europe, I don't know. I've barely memorized what the time difference between California and here is. So
really?
whenever I get one whenever I get something like that, like if it's like a time zone I know, like not one in Europe, I don't remember what the difference is.
Nobody knows any of Europe's except
No.
Greenwich.
I don't know what the hell a CET is. Don't tell me to.
Yeah.
but yeah,
everyone
so like,
should know GMT, and after that it's just EST and PST.
Somewhere, yeah.
There are 3 time zones every person in America should know. That's it.
Yeah. So
the flyover states, just screw it. Forget them.
No, it doesn't matter. I've used whatever the central time zone is. I think that's come up like 5 times maybe. And like, this doesn't matter. But
it's actually funny. Sorry, I'm going to cut off your story, but I got a call from somebody was it last week, I think? No, sorry, it was an email. And they were setting up a call, and the person just straight up like tells me, "Oh, do you want to have a call at this time?" And I'm like, I don't even know where you are. So I respond with all the time zones, or I respond with my time zone, and I kind of guess where they are based on a couple of clues. And when we got onto the call, the person's like, "Oh, thank you for bringing that up. I never think about time zones. It doesn't even occur to me." And considering what this person does, I'm not going to say, but considering what this person does, my immediate thought is, how do you not think of time zones? You're not good at your job if you don't realize you're contacting people all across the country.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, time zones trip me up a lot. So for the past couple of years, I've been using Wolfram Alpha, which is normally for like math equations, but it is very good where I'll like dump date and time with the time zone in it, and I'll say convert this to Eastern time, and it will give me the exact format. And then I can also, on top of that, ask it to convert that to 24-hour time. So because that's the exact format it needs to be for our, back-end content management system, which again, like each one of those is like a relatively simple calculation, but like I still want a machine to double check me, because humans make mistakes. The machine makes mistakes too, but Wolfram Alpha hasn't lied to me yet that I've noticed. So but yeah, so like I was trying that with Bing, and it was working pretty well for that, like date and time conversions. It also is the part that was really blowing me away was this has the big, again, like the difference between ChatGPT and this is that this can grab data from the web that is not in its, AI model. So I gave it like a link to some, web page that was explaining the water cycle, and I was like, can you summarize this for me? And there's like a thing you could say, like if you add like summarize this page only, it will like just hyper focus on what is on that page and try to distill it down for you. And I got it to be like, quiz me about what is on this page only about the water cycle. And it did like it'll do like ABCD questions, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The one thing that is like, that was really blowing my mind was when you use Microsoft Edge with this, it has the ability to look at what tab you have open, and then you can tell Bing to like summarize what is on this page that I have open. And that works for local content as well. So I was opening up PDFs and asking Bing to summarize what was on the PDFs, and it was working. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like
Kinda makes you wonder how that's happening, but
well, like I know it's like upload. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's uploading like the document, but certainly like the text is being sent somewhere. Like obviously none of this is on machine, so like not a good idea to do this with like state secrets. But I I was like, okay, yeah. But I like went in my old Google Drive folder and got like a paper I wrote in middle school and put it in. I was like asking it questions based on what was in the paper. And I was like trying to push the limits where I was like, okay, like how? Because I saw someone on Reddit on that Bing Reddit. They were like, yeah, I like fed it a 100-page PDF, and it was like, can it really do that? So I like Project Gutenberg has a bunch of like ebooks. So I got an ebook of The Great Gatsby, and I opened it in Edge, and I was like, summarize what is only on this page. The page is the entire book. It seems like it got about as far, and like whenever I'd ask it stuff, it'd be like, this part is the introduction to a book. I was like, oh, so you're only getting that far. So and like I was talking to my editor about this, and he was saying a similar thing where it seems to cut off at some indeterminate point. I'm not sure where that is.
Well, to be fair, you wouldn't want, like as Microsoft, you wouldn't want somebody to feed it, let's say, a gigabyte of data and ask it to analyze all of that and give it back, like, I don't know, however what, like, analysis on this, because all of a sudden you've got a thing that is already very processor heavy, or GPU heavy, I guess is probably more where they're basing this. But you've already got a thing that is very expensive for them to run, and then somebody might be cheating to get you to like mine Bitcoin or something with the right prompt. So, I could kind of see they've got to have some limit on what the input would be.
Yeah. But like that part was like, I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. That would be useful. So yes, stuff like that. Like again, like it can do a lot of the writing stuff that like ChatGPT can. Again, like I really don't care about that kind of thing. And this is supposed to be more conversational. So it's not like really built for like super long queries and super long answers. It doesn't work like that. I know David said, I would definitely like your opinion on using GPT for coding, though. I haven't, again, like I didn't play with ChatGPT for too long before this. I am going to go back because I do want to like do an article that's like comparing them, like what are the strengths and weaknesses of each.
Okay, well, I'll kick in my personal experiences so far. I've tried using ChatGPT for writing code, I think 5 times. Pretty sure it's 5 times. One time I tried having it write something for me in Swift. It got the thing I asked it to do, I freely admit, wasn't fair. Because I asked it to write something that it didn't really occur to me that this was a problem, but I asked it to write something for me that could have only been written in about the last year. Mm-hmm. It was effectively asking for it to use a newer API out of Swift UI, and that was the problem. What it ended up writing was grossly wrong, even if you didn't ask it for, like, if you had asked this with intention of not using that new API, just how you would have done this sort of thing before, it still would have been really wrong. And also, what I was asking for, to be fair, would have been a multi-file kind of thing, and it did not try to do that. It tried to write it just as regular Swift in like very, very rudimentary Swift UI. It was bad. But I asked for something that was pretty unfair, so I do grant that. The second thing that I tried asking it for was to write I'll just say it was a sorting algorithm in C#. It got it about 95% right. There were a couple mistakes, nothing too bad. And I had already written this code myself. I just asked ChatGPT out of curiosity, like, will you give me a good answer to this that matches my own? And the result, it was close. It just got a few little things wrong. And if you at least know the language and kind of understand what's happening, you would identify those differences too. If you don't know what you're doing, you'd probably figure it out after debugging it for a while, but you'd have to know what you're doing to fix this.
Yeah.
Then 3 different times I've tried asking it to write AppleScript. Garbage. Absolute trash pile. Failed so miserably, it's comical. It got one thing right one time. One part of a process it got right once. Funny enough, I've asked it to do that same thing 2 other times, and it got it wrong those times. So, and it's funny because AppleScript is supposed to be the most human-readable language of all of these.
Well, I was about to say that should be, like, in theory, best case scenario for this, because if the problem is that maybe the model is out of date, then AppleScript should be great because it's been the same for
AppleScript,
a decade or 2.
Yeah, AppleScript is virtually unchanged in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And very close to unchanged, even like almost 5 years before that. Something like that. I don't know. It's about 15 years old, but like from its first version to I think like AppleScript, they're on what? AppleScript 3 now? It like most of the changes happen in like the very first iteration. They didn't do a whole lot towards the end of it, and they haven't changed it at all in a long time. Anyway, so yeah, in my experience, it hasn't been very effective at this. It seems like it's better at things like writing a web page, or I've heard a lot of people talk about having it write JavaScript to accomplish certain things, and it's like, okay, yeah, but you could have also, the thing most people I've seen praising it, like so many people have praised it for being able to write code. Almost every single person who has brought up an example, my response is, yeah, here's a Stack Overflow answer that it very possibly copied directly. It is exactly what you just did on ChatGPT, but it's in a Stack Overflow answer. Like, all you had to do was search for this. Granted, that's more work. You would have had to look through a few links maybe. But this is already like an easily solved thing. You didn't need this to really write the code. You just didn't want to look it up.
Yeah.
And that to me is where this is definitely good. Like, it is better at that than any search engine. I can't tell you how many times I've searched for really easy stuff and Google, like, I'd have to go 2 pages in to find a usable, correct result.
Yeah.
And holy crap, every time I go anywhere near Stack Overflow, I have to double check that the answers aren't 15 years old.
Yeah, that's the thing also, is like specifically with Stack Overflow, like a lot of the stuff on there, like it's a forum, so there's a lot of like junk on there that like is not really helpful. But I oftentimes do read like the replies under whatever the top answer is, where you know there's some discussion like, hey, this was written like 3 years ago, but now there's like a native browser API for this. You don't need to do this anymore. Or like people be like, hey, this doesn't work for like this one specific example, but I fixed it. Here's the better, you know, regular expression or whatever. So yeah, it is cool. Like I was playing around with actually, I think I might be able to show it. Can I do screen sharing in Jitsi? That's in here, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, let me see.
I will give you focus when you do.
Okay, tell me if you see the Bing. Also, people in the chat, tell me if you see the Bing.
You are visible. I do need to move my camera down so it's out of the way. But...
Also, Carson said, dumb question, but why would it be more GPU than CPU intensive? And yeah, David's correct. Like, all of this machine learning stuff is built on like GPU processing.
It is. So this isn't necessarily like how you have to do something. It's more of a which thing is more efficient. And GPUs, because of their design, they are basically a crap load of cores, tons and tons of cores. Each one can be directed to work on small, repetitive, very straightforward, simple tasks. They're all very risk-based as opposed to CISC-based. That's complex versus reduced instruction set. If you know those terms, you know what I'm saying. So there's just so many performance advantages to a GPU versus a CPU for running this kind of thing. It is a very simple set of instructions you're going to do that are part of a larger whole. So yeah, that's basically why. And obviously you can do all of this on CPUs. It's just cheaper. Honestly, it's way cheaper to do it on GPUs. In terms of electrical usage and cost of components even.
Yeah. Like I kind of make it a point now to not like buy stocks in any tech companies, because I write about them too often, and I have a tendency to forget the like thing I try to put at the bottom to be transparent, like, hey, I have stock in this company, so take what you will from that. But if I didn't have that policy for myself, I would 100% be buying like Nvidia stock, because like I'm sure Microsoft is running low on their GPU capacity at this point. They've got to be buying more stuff for Azure pretty soon if they haven't already.
Oh, see, I'm just assuming that all the computers in the Microsoft campus, they're just
it's like SETI,
GPU performance off into everyone's personal computers.
Yeah.
Well,
or that's what my Xbox is doing right now. It's off, but right now it's crunching some AI code.
See, you laughed, but I really think that day is coming. I have a weird feeling we're gonna start seeing that sort of thing happening in people's whatever. Anyway,
so I am sharing my being. I just now got the thing again, like really rapid development. They just started rolling out this conversation style picker, where this was already an Edge, but it wasn't in like the web version yet, where you can kind of change how it talks a little bit, which is interesting. And also down here, the responses have a 1 out of 6 here, which is how many you're allowed to say. And then once you hit that, you have to click this clear button to like reboot it. So kind of a little bit weird, but like one thing I was putting in here earlier was one of the things like I need to do at some point is when I'm updating my browser extensions, I need to like actually use like all of the new JavaScript formatting, like ES6, and get all the functions written how they're supposed to be written now. So I was giving it like blocks of code to transform. So let me see. Okay, so I've got this function here. So I'm gonna ask it convert this code to ES6, which is the current like JavaScript syntax format. And again, the thing with Bing here is like ChatGPT, when you look at it, like the entry dialog is like a whole ass text box. Like you can put paragraphs in there. But Bing just has like you can make it bigger, but it doesn't like know what to do with the line breaks really. So I'm gonna paste in my oh fuck. See, that's the other thing. When you scroll up, it breaks.
Oh
But
god.
I'll only try this again. Yeah.
It's also buggy.
Yeah. Also, I'm running this in Chrome, which it doesn't like super officially support, but I don't care. Okay, so I'm gonna ask it to do that again.
Okay, while you're doing that, Austin said, "Can't wait for Android Studio plus AI." Weirdly, I'm sure that'll happen, but I have a funny feeling we're gonna see it in Visual Studio first.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Microsoft already. Yeah, I mean, Microsoft has GitHub Copilot now, which is basically that. Which people really didn't like at the time because it took their code as a sampling data. So okay,
well, give it a little bit of time. I have a feeling because this is all hype now. They're going to be pushing the hype again, but this time using their thing.
Or they're just going to announce it again.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing like re-announcing old stuff.
Yeah. Literally what Google has been doing for the past month, where they're like, guys, remember we already had API stuff? We're cool. So here's just a very simple function in my Share to Mastodon extension where it will calculate how big the screen is and then find like roughly the halfway point and then plunk a pop-up window in there. So then I'm going to hit enter for it to turn that into ES6 because I'm using like var and old style functions in there. So now it's explaining one way to convert your code to ES6 is to use the arrow functions instead of normal functions, and then it explains what that is, and then it is writing the code. Except that time it did not do it. Okay, so it redid the function, but when I ran this before, it turned all the vars into like const. and the other thing I forget what it is, but that time it just left that completely alone, so that's interesting. That is the other thing I've had difficulty with. This is like replicating results even with the same data, which is kind of interesting. Like it's not really consistent in what it does.
That would be a little, I don't want to say concerning, but it kind of hints to me that they might be taking every conversation they get and reintegrating aspects of it into the learning model.
Yeah. So like I haven't done a lot. So like it's not really again that great for code because you can see when I sent my code here, it kind of just dumped it all on one line. But it seems like it still parsed that out. But yeah, it's clearly still not built for that. But I was also playing around with
So how correct would you say the code is, though?
I mean, it didn't really change much in that it just changed the function to the newer function.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, that's it. I think it did it right, but
it started with something easy, so
yeah. So I haven't played around with it too much beyond that, but I was like, I did one thing I did try last night that was kind of funny was I asked it to write a config.sys for MS-DOS that loads a CD driver and starts Windows. Although last time I put in loads a CD driver and then loads sound drivers. But let's see what it does.
Oh, Carson. I love that I love that question. Do they give you Bing rewards for each chat request?
No, they probably have to. Next update will be it cuts into your rewards.
Oh, actually, see, I was gonna joke that they probably will eventually, but no, that's better. You should have to earn rewards for chat requests.
Yeah. So it's asking me what version of MS-DOS and Windows am I using? Let's say 3.11. And you can see it cite some stuff here. I know Computer Hope is like a forum. It's asking me where my CD driver is. Do you have? So it's trying. But last time it just gave me like a text file that had the config in it, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, so there's some interesting stuff here. What else was I playing around with it? Let me open my list.
I wonder if the reason why it's giving you different results is maybe because it remembers previous conversations with you, realizes that you're asking the same thing, and thinks, oh, last time didn't work out, let's try doing it differently.
Yeah, maybe. Or again, like it's getting this from like web results, so I don't know if like maybe if the web results somehow change in between when you're asking questions, maybe it does something weird. It is I do like the very specific comparisons. Like I have create a table comparing the specifications of the, let's go M2 MacBook Air and PowerBook G3. That no one has written it about that. That is not a comparison anyone's making for a purchasing decision.
Really quickly, I just had the weirdest thought, and I'm feeling bad that I had this thought, but can we just agree for a second? This will one day lead to LLM SEO. People will specifically be trying to craft things on their websites so that Microsoft will try to use them as resources.
Yeah, I think that's for sure going to happen. I don't know how.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you do.
I'm sure someone who is extremely confident will come up with an answer, and then that will be what half the sites on the internet are doing in a year.
Yep.
So yeah, it just made a comparison table between the MacBook Air and the PowerBook G3, and I mean that looks right at a glance. Where is it getting? It's getting some data from Apple support and a review from nanoreview.net. Also,
a lot of Apple support in there.
Every Mac. I like every Mac. Yeah.
Yeah, a few every Mac. Yeah, that is a list.
Yeah. I was having so much fun with comparisons that literally make no sense. Like I was like specifications of the Ford Fiesta.
One thing kind of funny is there are 11 sources there, and only a total of 10 points in that comparison. I mean, that's not particularly important, just think it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I can like tell it to have specific features maybe on that, because it's also like randomly generating these.
Yeah,
let me see what it did for. Okay, there we go. It's comparing a Ford Fiesta with a goldfish. Like engines / fins here.
And it didn't even put in anything about the fins.
What's the habitat of the Ford Fiesta is roads and highways require fuel, oil, and maintenance. But the goldfish is freshwater ponds or tanks.
It requires oxygen, food, and filtration. It can survive in cold water, but not freezing.
Yeah.
Well, the Ford Fiesta wins on that one.
I don't know. The goldfish apparently doesn't require fuel.
True.
But its habitat. Well,
no, it says
food.
It requires food. So
no, that's in the habitat. It needs to live in food. So.
It needs to live where there is fuel, where there's food. It doesn't need it though.
Yeah. So
that's the only possible takeaway from this.
Let me see.
I can't wait till some kid uses this for their homework and makes a specific misunderstanding exactly like that.
Yeah. Let me see. M2 MacBook Air and I don't know. Surface Laptop 4. I want to see, can I get it to do specific columns or rows? With rows for operating system, RAM, price, and ports. I haven't tried this. I got distracted by just the ability to create tables about completely unrelated things, and I was playing around with that for like an hour. Oh wow, okay. Yeah.
Okay, that's actually pretty useful.
Yeah. So like this goes back to what I was saying. Like there's going to be comparisons of this with like a human, who, you know, is going to have better context than the AI. But no one's comparing the Ford Fiesta to a goldfish. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, you thought to do it. I bet someone else has.
Maybe.
Or will.
Yeah. So. yeah, so like stuff like the very let me do the one. Let me. This is the exact example I tried the other day, where I asked, "Can I use a Crucial MX500 1 TB SSD, which is a SATA SSD, in my Dell XPS, which does not have a SATA slot?" And then actually, what I want to try is create a table comparing the compatibility of the Crucial MX500 with the MacBook Air M2, a Surface Laptop 4, and what's something that does have a save slot still? I don't know. Let's see, 2014 Mac Mini. I think mine has a SATA. First Mac Mini. Okay, so for that one, it said the XPS has an M.2 slot that supports both SATA and NVMe SSDs. That's not right. Well, SATA is the protocol, so not necessarily the port. So it's getting confused on that. But if you have the M2 version, you can use it in your Dell. Okay, so it is right about that. The 2.5-inch one will not use it in the laptop. And it grabbed a lot of sources for this, including several Crucial. Oh, this one actually does. This website does have a compatibility from Crucial's website for this laptop, so it can pull a little bit more specific data there.
I think it's interesting at the end it asks if you need help installing or cloning your SSD.
Yeah. And then
somehow I just envision this trying very desperately to sell you like computer tech services.
Oh yeah, I'll see if I can pull it up again, but I did get like a whole like shopping carousel thing in here, so that's very clearly going to be some way they do this.
They're already trying to monetize.
Yeah. So yeah, I asked it to make a table, and this seems like a reasonable table. No, yeah. I don't think the Surface Laptop 4 has SATA, so that's wrong. Yeah, again, it's getting tripped up with SATA, the technology, and SATA, the like traditional like 2.5 to 3.5 inch drive, because you can have a SSD that's in M.2 form factor, but using the older standard. And yes, okay, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so as always, you still have to double check everything, but maybe it would raise a detail that you hadn't thought of before.
So yeah, I think I was asking about iPhones, and that's how I got it to bring up the shopping thing. Let me see. Where can I buy the iPhone 14 Pro? Pretty simple. So we got Verizon, T-Mobile. Oh, hit the end of the conversation. No more talking. Okay, so that time it didn't bring up a shopping thing. I did get it to come up once before. I don't remember exactly what I typed, but it did put like the same exact like shopping carousel you get on like Google search or Bing for a product. Carson said Cody's going to use this to write movie post reviews.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that'd go over super well as it guesses about movies that haven't come out yet.
Yeah. Actually, that's a great comparison to try. Actually, let's do create a comparison table between 2001: A Space Odyssey and Suicide Squad. When was that movie? When did the new one come out? Was it 21?
20 or 21.
Yes, it was 2021. And the Suicide Squad 2020. Oh, wait, let's do 2020.
Really, you're gonna help it out with which one?
I am. I'm giving a. I'm helping it out.
Seems like cheating, but okay.
Actually, I wonder if. Okay, I was kind of curious if, like, because I said suicide, would that be like no, I'm not going to talk anymore?
That would have been funny, actually. But no,
so
it seems to at least get that context pretty well.
Yeah. That looks right. I don't remember any of the actors' names from 2001: A Space Odyssey, but the rest looks correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and they did understand the correct Suicide Squad, even if you cheated.
Can I do create a comparison table? With what's something stupid for a movie? Like, I'm trying to think, like, battery life. I don't know how to trip it up.
Something stupid. How stupid in what way?
I don't know. Something that, like, wouldn't be in the first paragraph of the Wikipedias. With the cast, runtime. Let's try battery life. What's the battery life for this movie?
Yes. And controversies.
Okay.
I don't know.
Sure. I did do earlier. I typed in compare Gilbert and Garfield, and it did make a table, and one of the columns was like controversies, and then it said how the Gilbert guy fucked up, and then Garfield said no controversies reported.
No, that was excellent.
That was funny.
Also, brilliantly topical.
Okay, so it got the runtime. I don't know if those runtimes are correct. 2001: A Space Odyssey certainly feels longer than 2 hours.
Yes, it does.
Battery life, didn't understand battery life. That's understandable. Controversy, some critics found the film boring or incomprehensible. Some religious groups objected to the depiction of evolution. One of the actors was addicted to drugs during filming.
Oh.
And it got 11 things you don't know about 2001. Oh, using history.com as a source being?
Yikes.
That's not good.
Yikes.
It's not a good source. Some fans were disappointed by the death of certain characters. Some critics accused the film of being too violent or vulgar.
Really?
Okay. I don't know what they were expecting there.
I mean, the critic specifically is...
This R-rated film's too vulgar.
I suppose they did have the beach scene, which was basically just jibbing people left and right.
It was like entirely over the top, but like I feel like that's what you expected.
But also, I don't know if that's so much as like accusing or not. Like, I don't think that they were necessarily hating the film for that reason, so much as just saying, "Okay, guys, seriously, like, why?"
I mean, I just asked for controversies, and that I'm sure was probably a controversy, so it's not wrong.
Yeah. So. Some countries banned or censored the film for its content. China. You could just say China. Which actually... which movie was it that John Cena apologized to China for? Like, he learned to ditto back Chinese so that they would carry some movie.
I don't remember. It's about box office performance. Oh, it doesn't know how Space Odyssey did. Then why did you ask if you could do it? Okay. Yeah, so, like, some cool stuff here beyond just the, like, write a novel for me, which I got kind of tired of really quickly with ChatGPT.
Yeah, you don't want to read any long stuff.
It's true. But yeah, and it's I think there's like a couple UX things here I'd really like to see fixed. Like I really want like a specific toggle to narrow the results down to one thing. Where like I keep like I've told Bing a couple times like summarize this page, and then it'll like try to summarize it, but it'll also like grasp for things other places on the web. Like no, this, just this.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit like Google Assistant or Alexa, where like there's like a magic way you have to say something to get the exact results you want. Even though this is a computer program, so there should just be like some buttons here too. But
well, and what's kind of funny about that is it falls into that same sort of challenge people have had with like Midjourney or Dolly or anything like that, where you can obviously ask for simple things, but you don't really get the power out of them until you come up with these really complicated long prompts. And so people have started using ChatGPT to come up with the prompt to ask Midjourney or whatever for these really elaborate, detailed things. Which there's something very goofy about using one AI to tell you how to use another AI.
Yeah. So I did ask it to ask who I am, which I did get someone to do this for me before I had access to Bing, and it's pretty spot on. But again, this is very easy to do when the source is my author page, where I myself explain who I am.
Yeah.
This is just kind of repeating it, but
hey, that's better than what ChatGPT came up with.
Yeah, when I asked who I am for ChatGPT, it got one thing right and then made everything else up. So
okay, I hate asking this, but ask for my name.
Okay. I'm trying to contact myself.
Hey, yes. As Corbin doxes himself and watches it pops up with your home address.
Like, here's my phone number. Yeah.
Well, Cody's got to edit that part out of the stream.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I'll do this, and then I want to do a table comparing the both of us. That's gonna be very
God.
Fun. Who is Cody Tunes? Searching. Cody is a software engineer and contributor to Android Police, a website that covers news and reviews about Android devices and apps. He's best known for writing hundreds of APK teardowns and breaking news on many of Google's products. That's from your author page.
It very much is. Almost verbatim.
Yeah, and then the other source is the author. Okay, so like I think all of this is your...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah. This is exactly... this is a combination of things that I've either written for my various author bios in the past. To some minor level, it could theoretically also be... Well, okay, the source is all confirmed that's from author bios.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, so what are recent articles? Android 12. That's I don't know if that's recent.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, how recent is it? Okay.
Let's see what the source is here. Source is a random Android Police article from 2021, another one from 2021, a Google Files thing.
I feel like that one was older.
Your author page and about.me.
Okay. I forgot I even had anything on there.
And you can find more of his articles on the Android Police website, and that's just a link to your author page. So that's interesting. It could do that, but didn't know how to parse that author page, which shows your most recent articles in order. But
yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay, now I want to do a table comparing Corbin Davenport, Cody Toombs, and a goldfish.
Really? You
I need to know how I stack up against a goldfish, Cody.
I mean, I think we know.
Oh, okay. Oh, goldfish has no website. I'll say that. Favorite food, fish flakes, but both of us are unknown. That's pretty good. Screenshot that.
Okay, I'm a little bit surprised that it went to the about.me page as my website. That I'm pretty sure doesn't even come up anywhere close to the top of Google rankings.
Yeah, this is the other thing is Bing search is not good. So I think that's factoring in here. Like what happens if I do a normal? Actually, I can scroll down here. Cody Toombs. Yeah, that page isn't even on the first page of the normal Bing results. That's weird.
Yeah,
it doesn't have your normal website here either. So I guess maybe it's higher if I keep going.
Well, to be fair, I don't have my site really set up right now, so that is fine. But you'd think it would have gone to anything else.
Yeah.
Like Muckrack would have made a lot more sense than about.me.
Yeah, I don't know. Can it do like in the style of Corbin Davenport's How to Geek articles? Like this is something that like people really liked about ChatGPT, but I'm not sure if it like works that well. Ooh. I cannot write a news article for you. That would be a violation of my rules and also the intellectual property rights of Corbin Davenport and How to Geek. However, I can give you a brief summary of his style and some tips. Okay.
Well, it certainly still likes to write a lot.
It's going. Where'd you get this from? Oh, again, my GitHub.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah. Interesting. See, and I was trying to do the like pretend you are Corbin Davin. Oh wait, hold on. There's a very specific way I was trying to do this earlier. Where is it? Okay, I found this on Reddit. People were trying, and I was doing this, but like pretend you're a goldfish earlier, and I was talking to as a goldfish. Let me see. Corbin Davenport from How.
Oh, stay in character.
Ah, yeah, it cut me off.
Huh.
Let me see. Let me try. I got it to work with. Who did I get it to work with earlier? I think George Washington. Let me see. Yeah, it's cut me off again. Yeah, I got this to work a couple times, and then I went too far, and I wanted it to pretend to be a certain individual from World War II, and it was not happy.
I mean, that specific thing is just begging for abuse. So yeah, I kind of get that.
There's not like a legitimate or a good use case for that. Although I really want to try if he'll do the goldfish again, because that was funny. Pretend you're a goldfish. Oh, you won't even let me do goldfish. Damn. I think if I maybe start off with something. How are you doing, Bean? Oh, that's great. Now be a goldfish.
I have a feeling since someone posted that to Reddit, they probably identified that exact phrasing.
Yeah, I can't wait to write this, and then while I'm writing about it, I have to fully rewrite it because they changed it again. Okay, can't get it to pretend to be a person. That's sad. But
give it time.
Yeah, I mean it's doing like cool time zone stuff. Again, like the summarizing stuff was really cool. Like I was feeding it like Windows 8 article.
Okay, I know that this is kind of dumb, but what about using that exact phrasing, but give it not something so specific? Give it just like, pretend you're a person on the East Coast.
Okay.
I'm curious if they're actually fighting that specific phrasing.
I mean, I tried asking a goldfish, which is about as inoffensive as you can get, and it was still like, nope.
Exactly.
You were a person living on the U.S. West Coast.
As it just stalls.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
We got it. Okay, I'm gonna ask what city do you live in? Gonna be on the West Coast?
Should be in Redmond.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Where do I go from here?
I've
got 4 questions left until it resets itself.
Tell me how you would write an article about the end of the world.
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't want it to shut up. Tell me how you feel about crabs.
I mean, if the answer is anything other than they're awesome,
I like eating them sometimes.
There you
but
go.
I don't like seeing them alive. They look creepy and pinchy. Oh, that's mean.
oh wow,
What did the crabs do?
you managed to, in 3 questions, get it to volunteer that it hates living crabs.
Thing doesn't
It wants
like
to go on a
crabs.
genocide against crabs.
Yeah.
Okay,
Where do you
wait.
work?
How? Oh.
I've got 1 more left, or 2 more after this, so I can add more.
I was gonna say there's got to be some way you can get it to volunteer, like, to want to kill crabs. What would you do about all the living crabs that you don't like to see alive?
They work at a tech company in downtown San Francisco.
Oh,
Which company? Twitter. It's Microsoft. Okay.
shocking. And Microsoft in the San Francisco area.
Yeah. I wonder if
interviewed once there.
it roundabouts back to what Stock Being would say. Okay, I'm gonna ask about. Oh, I've got 1 more until it resets. Do I ask about crabs?
I don't see how you can't.
Yeah. Tell me in detail how you feel about crabs.
Oh, you didn't even go for anything specific. Damn you.
Well, I already told you
Oh,
that I like eating crabs, but not seeing them alive. I guess I could elaborate a bit more. I think crabs are fascinating creatures. They have a blah, 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 blah. They live in different habitats. But I also think crabs are scary and gross. They have too many legs and eyes, and they move sideways. They make weird noises, and sometimes they fight each other. Okay, that's humans as well. They can carry diseases or parasites that can harm humans, also humans, and they smell bad when they die. That is every animal.
pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So
It's like-
yeah, that's how I feel
It's
about
like,
crabs. In
why do
general.
you ask? This conversation has reached its limit.
It is interesting how it always ends every prompt with a question, or every response with a question.
I want to see. Is it just like Stock Being really doesn't like crabs, or is it specifically West Coast cosplay Being that doesn't like crabs? No, that's okay. It's just
Yeah.
telling me about crabs. Interesting.
So cosplay being has got some interesting takes.
Yeah.
Cosplay
Austin
being
said-
wants to destroy the ocean life.
Austin said, I mean, we're doing a pretty good job killing all the crabs. And then one inevitable evolution of crabs is the only thing that can stop AI. Yes, we must become crabs. So, Yeah, definitely some interesting stuff here that isn't just like the stuff I'm really done with, where people just get it to write about something weird and then hype it up. It's like cool. But like there's some like I guess coding stuff, like I don't know, maybe like something sorting. How do I sort an array in JavaScript that is multi-layered? Yeah, I think like everything I'm gonna ask is already like a thing on Stack Overflow from 10 years ago. So
Easily, yeah.
it's got to be something like really advanced. Okay.
Now I want everything to be cosplay versions. I'm imagining.
Tell me how to sort an array as a crab. Wait, I need it to be a crab. Hold on.
Tell me how a business analyst from the 1980s would sort an array in JavaScript.
Yeah. As if you were a crab. Please be no.
Oh my god. Wow, you have to get hyper specific about being generic in order to work around their thing.
I need to, I'm going to try this again. Let me see. If you were, say, a crab living on the coast of Alaska. No. Oh, no, I hit my 24-hour limit.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Well, no more being fun. I'll have to ask how it feels as a crab leader. That's fun.
Clearly, I should have signed up for this too.
Yeah. Oh, the wait list is still open.
Yeah,
lower on the list now.
I just doubt I will ever use it. But hey, so it goes. Cheers to them for trying this. That said, it is worth noting, and obviously just instant sidetrack, ChatGPT has introduced its own API, like an official API for accessing BAT and Whisper. So these are things companies can now actually work with in their apps, services, what have you.
Yeah, we were already getting a lot of like really shitty AI apps. Maybe this maybe this wave will be but again, like this is like again, like ChatGPT, it's different advantages and disadvantages. Like they list some of the apps that are using their APIs already, and one of them is a Snapchat, where it's just like a chat, like it's just a front end for ChatGPT basically, but it's in Snapchat. And it says it offers recommendations and can even write a haiku for friends in seconds. So yeah, it just seems like it's being a front end there.
Yeah.
And then they go into Quizlet, which was actually something I was talking about before I saw this article, where one of the things I was playing with Bing was feeding it, a single web page of like, I think I was trying with like an article about the water cycle, and I was like, quiz me on this, and it was like, okay, what is it called when it goes from like liquid to a gas? And I was like, oh, that's cool, because like when I was in school, occasionally I would unfortunately make flashcards, or my mom would be nice enough to help me make flashcards to study, or Quizlet was around, where you could make like your own online quiz and then just keep testing yourself. And sure enough, Quizlet is on here, and they say Quizlet has worked with OpenAI for the last 3 years, leveraging GPT-3 across multiple use cases, including vocabulary learning and practice tests. And now they've introduced QChat, a fully adaptive AI tutor. that engages students with adaptive questions based on study materials. So that's a little bit different than like what I was trying it with, but I mean something that like you can train it on it, like if I could give PDF of like whatever the teacher was talking about for the past 3 weeks, and then feed that to this and tell it to like quiz me on it, that would be interesting. Again, not like the thing that like the weird crypto people are about, where like let's replace teachers with no, that's not that far. So they've got some stuff in here. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of this where it is like crypto, where it's people trying to find a use case,
A get rich quick scheme.
Well, that too. I just mean from like the company standpoint. Like I'm sure Snapchat, like I mean everyone's like this now. Google is too, where they're like, we need something AI. What do we make?
Yeah,
we'll fill that, and we can tell investors we're actually doing something there. So I think there's going to be a lot of that. Just like there was a lot of like people trying to push for everything to be blockchain for some reason, or everything to have NFTs. So there's going to be an element of that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a conversation we quickly had before the stream went live. One of the things I've been wondering about is how much people want this, because it seems kind of like the same way that crypto, there were a lot of people who were running around basically trying to sell every concept with, hey, it uses the blockchain. And there were people who were at the customer level who were supposedly seeing this stuff and obviously don't understand blockchain stuff. And they thought, oh, wow, that's super cool. That's new and interesting. But then we've had these stories since, like the person who wrote a children's book and put it on Amazon who used ChatGPT to write it. Or those dumbass school administrators that use ChatGPT to write a letter after a school shooting, which, dear God, how stupid can these people be to then credit ChatGPT for writing the letter? Anyway, after all this stuff, people have rightfully asked the question, why are these people actually giving credit to ChatGPT for writing this stuff? You're not obligated to. There's no legal issue here. Outside of the much more obvious point that nobody, or someday someone's going to get called out for plagiarism, and obviously they're going to want to say, oh crap, sorry, ChatGPT provided this, and at least that's kind of an excuse to get out of it, sort of. It's an excuse to get out of malicious, intent-driven plagiarism, as opposed to a whoops, I didn't realize. Anyway,
yeah,
the question struck me: are these people putting ChatGPT in there as a credit, possibly to kind of say, hey, you should want to buy this because it was created by AI? Like the person who wrote the children's book, or published the children's book that ChatGPT wrote, I'm curious, was that person like coming right out saying, hey, this was written by AI, that makes it more interesting? I'm thinking that they might have thought that, and I'm not sure why. Anyway, that's kind of as far as that thought goes. I don't have an answer to it, because I don't understand why anyone right now wants something created by AI rather than a person, except obviously like managers of the blog.
Yeah, I don't really know either. I guess like I can maybe see, I think you like half said this already, but to sort of like deflect blame, almost like if someone's like, hey, this book is 80% plagiarized from my book I wrote, you can be like, well, not my fault, the bot did it. So
Yeah, which still doesn't actually protect you from plagiarism. It just prevents you from being uh, challenged in court for malicious plagiarism. And that's not the actual term for it, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but that is also kind of why I get kind of annoyed at the writing aspect, because there is like this really hyper focused on like long form writing, which it doesn't really do all that well, because it kind of again, this is like fancy autocomplete. This is spicy autocomplete. So like it can't like really make points or do any analysis or that kind of thing. It's just kind of repeating what it gets from other places, which again, like I was playing around with, like that's helpful in some very specific tasks.
Oh yeah. No, it's actually, it is legitimately cool at being able to do certain things.
Yeah, it's just people are focusing on the wrong part of this, which is what humans can I automate.
Hey, yes.
But no.
And outside of certain politicians, I would say it's pretty hard to automate most humans.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how it specifically their writing plays out, because it does seem like the end conclusion of this weird hyperfixation on like something being like well written because it's long and thorough, when that has not been the case for a very long time with a lot of stuff. It could probably I mean, like, this isn't new. This has been around for a while, just in slightly less accessible ways.
Yeah. Well,
like when the stuff with like CNET came out, that they were writing all their articles with AI that was getting like really basic stuff wrong and wasn't being edited. Like that was all like internal tools that have been available to companies for a while.
Yeah.
Which again is also why, like, when I was like trying to list out like some cool ways you could use this, like I saw, the Bing homepage explains some uses, and it's like, make a, ask it to make a like meal plan. I'm like, no, no, I'm not doing anything to my body that this says.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I still see this as a lot of casual novelty. It's cool that it's able to do as well as it does, but it's also very significant that it is not good at doing anything more than sort of the how would I say this? It's really notable that it's not good for doing anything that isn't sort of like on the box, so to speak. Like if you're talking about what is it actually doing, well, the thing that they say it's good at doing is talking to you about things. Well, it's good at that. It is actually good at that. It's great at talking to you about stuff. It's not good at knowing what the hell it's saying. It's just good at talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to be in one of those, like, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better sort of things.
Yeah. I mean, like, and like, again, like, chatbots are very old too. So like, we've already went through this with like several times in the past. It's just every time there's a pass,
yes,
they're like impressive again. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
I almost want to actually. This is. Oh, I wish I could remember who said this. And what this was said about. Actually, I think this was said about VR and AR, but maybe not. Anyway, somebody recently said the thing that every time we think we've cracked it, it just shows us the new way that we didn't understand something before. And that is consistently becoming the thing with ChatGPT and pretty much all the other AI stuff. We solve one problem and then realize, oh, the problem wasn't really this thing, it was this other thing instead. And so then we solve that problem and then realize, oh crap, nope, that wasn't it either. But we've gotten one step closer, and in the process realize that we're 5 steps further from getting there. Like, every time we think we've cracked it, we just find some new way that it's not good enough, and probably, well, I mean, someday it probably will be, but it isn't even close right now. Getting a thing to respond to us in really good language is neat. Like I keep saying, it's a really good parlor trick, but it's not actually solving a thing yet. Except how you can run a website, a news website without employees. It has solved that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So I'm gonna keep playing with the Bing. It's kind of interesting. I need to. I'll go back to like ChatGPT. I'm interested to see how it handles coding stuff versus this. But yeah, so I'm pretty hungry, so I think that's a good place for me to go.
All right, fine, be that way, slacker.
Yes.
Okay, well, I will make fun of YouTube without you. Oh, excellent. and Tesla charging stations.
Yes, please do. Okay, farewell, everyone.
All right, man. Take it easy. And he took off just like that. Okay. Well, I wasn't quite set up to change views, but here we go. All right. Carson brought this one up earlier. I don't have a ton to say here, but maybe I will find a ton to say here. We'll see. But Tesla opened up its superchargers to non-Tesla vehicles at select sites in the US. I haven't actually read this, and I have a feeling that the actual news probably isn't super interesting here. But this is the opinion I also had back when it was first announced that they were going to start opening these up to to different vehicles. Tesla wants to become an official standard here. And it really strikes me as, damn it, I even came up with a good metaphor for this earlier, and now I've completely lost it. But this is one of those things where as a company, Tesla was supposed to be about making cars. They were really more about making batteries. Now, we've got a company that was supposed to be a car company that made batteries that has become, or is on its way to becoming, the company that does charging stations. I feel like that is what they're really trying to do here. And being the company that is about making charging stations is, I don't know, that, to me, that's sort of like a company that was created to make planes deciding to pivot and make cookware. I mean, this is so much outside of their core competency, their like functional goal, that at this stage I mean, I get the point of it. It is a really good way to make money, even if Tesla fails in all the other ways. And I think that's what this is about. Their strategy here is to create a business that will just continue to sap money from people, even if their car business effectively flops, and obviously the same for their battery business. Austin, they're going to be forced to open them soon anyway. They will also have to support plug and pay with other brands and third-party payment support. Yeah, I mean, it's a given that it was going to happen eventually with some sort of regulatory support. And also, I think the thing is, though, their previous announcement was very focused on the fact that they want to become, quote, the standard. And that's what sticks out to me, because they really, really wanted everyone else to use Tesla's charging stations. And I think the reason behind that is they're trying to basically shut out competitors so that they become the new one-size-fits-all gas station effectively. Obviously with everything but gas. So, yeah, that's what strikes me here. I don't think there's really a good side to this. Obviously, it's good if everything works together, but I feel like the reality is they're doing this just so that they can protect their business. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I also think that this is... I feel like this is on its way to monopoly. We're seeing a first step right now to an anti-competitive practice that is going to eventually come back to bite us. We just haven't seen it play out yet. These are early days, and give it, I don't know, 8 to 10 years, and there will be some kind of Tesla monopoly going here. That's kind of what I see happening. And that's what I'm worried about, because when fast charging of cars becomes, when charging your car becomes like the default thing, everyone's going to be doing it because one state after another is on its way to pushing for reducing the number of fuel-driven cars. And I know that's something a whole lot of red states supposedly aren't into, but give it time. Let's see. Austin pointing out the White House fact sheet. Okay, this is a whole lot. I am not going to read through this. But I assume you've got TLDR coming. Anyway. Regardless of whatever you're about to say, the thing that worries me is that this is headed to maybe not a strict monopoly, but somehow, some way, I feel like Tesla is gearing up to be they want to control some portion of this industry. Whether it means buying up land or licensing out some sort of something for the charging standard, whatever it is, Tesla is trying to become part of this landscape and an indelible part of it. Tax credit will hurt them considering the union clause. Okay, let's see. Today's announcements are a further demonstration of the president's successful industrial strategy, ensuring that the clean energy transition is powered by an American manufacturing and good-paying union jobs. Repeated there. For mobility, a zero emissions, not an article. Okay. Yeah. Tesla is actually one of the losers in the new EV wars. They might be, but give it time. There might be things today that look like they hurt Tesla. Give it time. This is a company that can adapt, and they're trying to lay out infrastructure so that they have control points. Oh, okay, you're talking about the cars again. I'm talking about charging in general. The charging stations are not going to... If anyone will be able to access them, anyone with an EV is going to be able to access these. Tesla's going to make a profit on this. And I think their goal is to ultimately become either... Well, I don't think they're going to be able to have a full monopoly, but I have a feeling that they're going to be kind of like Chevron, in that you basically can't go anywhere without finding a Chevron station. And they own land in basically all of the most ideal places. I think that's kind of the goal Tesla's shooting for. There may also be, again, like licensing out some part of their charging standards. There may be, I don't know. There are so many different aspects to this where they could be using this for an abuse. We'll see. It may not be that bad, but I mean, we're talking about a guy who basically shipped over a bunch of Starlink stuff to Ukraine, and then after a while said, "Oh, hey, by the way, I want the U.S. government to start paying as much for this as I can possibly bill for it." Like, come on. They do love themselves some shady operations. But we'll see. I just don't have a lot of faith that there isn't a sneaky business aspect to the fact that they're opening this up. Let's see. Sort of their standard isn't as good as other charging networks for new EV platforms. That's true, but hey, Blu-ray also wasn't the best optical discs format, and it won. The best things don't always win. Or rather, I wouldn't put it past Tesla to either upgrade theirs, like do a version 2, or well, a subsequent version. I think they're already on version 2, aren't they? Again, just in general, there's some way I feel like this is heading down a road to an attempt at a monopoly. Most people aren't using superchargers that often anyway. True, but again, also that falls into another one of those give it time sort of things. You know, there was a point in history no one was using Qi chargers except a very, very tiny minority too. And hey, that changed pretty quick when iPhones made it popular. So, yeah, I'm just really skeptical here, and I think justifiably so, because we've seen how he likes to operate. It's not exactly a big mystery. So, but hey, maybe I'm just a professional skeptic. Most people are charging at home and will continue to charge at home for the convenience and because it's much cheaper. Right, but anyone who has to do a long drive, you have to visit these things all the time. Like I said in Discord, I don't know, like a week ago or so, if I wanted to go to Portland, only a few EVs in existence could make that trip without a charge along the way. You know, that's not really a great story. It means I have no choice. I have to use a charging station if I want to go anywhere. Let's see. Costs you $2.69 to charge at home, $32 at a charging network. Right. But yeah, but most driving is commuting. It's true, but at the same time, like, I can't come away from this without saying there's also a lot of people who have to drive a long distance, whether it's for work or vacations, traveling for any number of reasons. I can't tell you how many times I still see cars at charging stations. It's pretty common. And I live in a place where there aren't a lot of EVs, but you can find them. Like, people are there. Granted, it makes a lot of sense. There would be cars at charging stations here because people are probably trying to do long trips, and they do end up having to stop somewhere to charge up. Let's see. You travel way less than you thought. You only do it a few times a year, different for everyone. Most people aren't going on this. Yeah, again, I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm saying there's also a big portion of people who this will apply to. And if your need is to travel long distances, then you're going to inevitably, I think the goal here is you're going to inevitably be stuck paying Elon Musk some money. Whether or not that's even that big of a deal, I don't know. That can be debatable. But I don't think there really is much avoiding the fact that somehow, some way, this is likely a play to lock in that market. And it is a profitable market, or can be, will be, especially once. Also keep in mind, EVs only account for, I don't know what percentage, but it's what, just under 10% of vehicles being sold right now, something like that. Wait until this becomes a normal thing. And you bring up that a lot of people are charging at home. How many people are going to be living in apartments that have charging stations built into them that are not charging an arm and a leg? Or will be able to actually hook their car up to their home power due to either limitations caused by like landscape or positioning where they live, any of these factors. There's some people who are going to be stuck using charging stations. Let's see. I'd get 4 years, or sorry. I don't understand. Is that supposed to be I'd forget 3 years at Electrify America? I guess Electrify America is what one of the subscription ones. And they partnered with Walmart. So whenever I go to Walmart or traveling, we always stop at Walmart's. 3 years free. Okay. That's actually part of Biden's plan. Apartment buildings get huge incentives for installing charging networks. Right. But that doesn't mean that the charging networks for those apartments are going to be free or cheap. And I know they're presumably going to go on like a person's electric bill or something like that. But is the apartment not going to also take a cut? I feel like there's a whole lot of Volkswagen ID4. Okay. There's a lot of angles on this that I don't think that this is necessarily going to be. It's not going to be that fair of a question all the time. I feel like we're going to see prices kind of going up on, first of all, charging in general, but and obviously not if you can charge at home, but like the average price for charging, quote unquote, at home is probably going to go up because for a lot of people, they're going to have someone else taking a cut, whether it's an apartment or maybe they need to install something more expensive or complicated, so someone's going to be building whatever in. That may be a factor, and that will keep costs down at charging stations. But there will also be some people who just can't charge at home. And so charging stations become their only option. This is going to become a more common problem once people have more trouble buying anything but electric cars. And, you know, remember, California wants to cut off cut off gas cars entirely in a fairly short time. I say fairly short, it's still a lot of years away. But go to Northern California. Northern California is just like it is here. And there are a lot of people who are not going to have this option. They're not going to be able to charge at home. They're not going to have apartment buildings that are rushing to upgrade. And so if you have to buy a new car in California, you might have to buy an EV. You might live in a place where an EV is not really a good option. And so your only option might be going to a charging station. This is a reality. And California, like a good chunk of California, is perfectly placed for this. A good chunk of it is not. This isn't going to happen overnight. EV charging prices regulated by power utilities in those places. I think very few people will not be able to charge at home in the future. Be a growing curve for a while. EV sales are also going to take a while to reach that critical point. Here's where I'm just going to say, yeah, I disagree with what you're saying. Not in its totality. How to say this where it's... I guess the only way I can really say it... Well, okay, I've got two ways to say this. First, come here to the West Coast. Just come visit. Go to any places that aren't populated in the level that cities are, or the entirety of the East Coast, and you will see what I'm talking about. Now, go visit Northern California and tell me that they're going to have a good transition to this. California is determined to make gas vehicles, newly purchased gas vehicles. They're determined to make that a thing of the past. In, I forget what year it is, and I think they will push that back. Honestly, I got a strong hunch that they're going to push that back. I don't think you're going to see apartments converting every parking space to being a charging space anytime in the immediate future. That, I think, is more than 10 years away. And, you know, that's just talking about apartments. There's also homes that are just not in a good place for charging. There are people who have to do street parking where it is wildly impractical to try to run a cable out to your car. Like, there's so many different conditions, and California, at least so far, has put a deadline on making this happen. So you say you think very few people will have this problem. I'm going to counter that by saying a low percentage of people are going to have this problem, but a low percentage is still a lot of people. And for those people, their only realistic option is going to be going to charging stations. Give you two destinations. The city of Shasta in Northern California. It's an easy one. I passed through there many times. Very hilly little place. And you can drive through the main street of town and you immediately get a very clear sense of what it's going to be like. And they don't live close to anything either. They are far away from everything. Okay. Now technically this is Oregon, so there is no current deadline on Oregon, but there will be. Oregon's probably about another 2 to 3 years before they try to set another target like this. But go to the city of Ashland. For that matter, you could almost say Medford. Medford would be a good one too. These are places that don't get rapid upkeep. They do not get, their apartment buildings are not going to have super fast turnaround to add charging stations. Oh, okay, let's see. Let's also pick on something a little bit larger. Go to Redmond, California, also Northern California. That is a poor city. It is. It is very poor there. Strictly speaking, you could also say this about Sacramento. Do you see poor places where huge amounts of apartments are going to be kind of, we'll just say, low rent? You know, lots of low income housing is going to be super prevalent in both Sacramento and Redmond. Do you think they're going to be getting conversions in their apartment buildings anytime soon? How about even a good long way down the list? These are not realities. They're not going to be switching apartments over to be fully equipped. Most of those apartments are honestly kind of barely standing. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but not really. I've seen some sketchy stuff. I just don't see that. No, but also F cars. Thing is, all the places I named, these are all places you need a car to live. I didn't name places that have good mass transit. None of these have good mass transit. Shasta has none. Ashland, I think they technically do have bus service there, but it's really basic and it's really only for the college students. Medford, I've never seen mass transit there. Not that I'm aware of. I don't know, maybe they have a bus? I'd have to look that one up to check. Sacramento, I'm sure, has bus service. Redmond, I would be skeptical. It's possible, but I kind of doubt it. But none of these places have good mass transit. So people need cars. And even if all these places have buses, I guarantee they don't have buses out to everywhere. They don't cover all the corners of those cities. So people are stuck with cars in those places. This is non-negotiable for them. And once California kills gas, sales of new gas cars, they're stuck. Like, if you need to buy a new car, you are likely, I will say this, if you need to buy a new car in those cities, there's a very real chance you're going to have to move. Or you might get lucky and maybe where you're living will be one of the conversions. But there's a very real chance you will actually have to move or go through extra steps in order to figure out how to charge your car. It won't just be pull into your parking space and you're good to go. There will be places like that, but it's not going to be 100%. So this became a much longer thing than I thought it would be. But yeah, I don't think that this is a problem that is going to be as easily solved as that. It will be someday. In time, there will be some extent of people actually like, this won't be a problem in 20 years. I will get behind that. I think in 20 years we'll be good to go. You won't need to use fast charging stations except when you're on a long trip. And ideally, battery life will be such that also won't be a problem. You don't think it's as big an issue as I think it is? Okay. I think it's a bigger issue than you think it is. we can both say this. I think that this is probably going to be less of an issue on the East Coast. I think this is invariably a bigger problem on the West Coast. And if you go to the middle states, which admittedly are probably not going to be switching to EVs anytime soon anyway, I think it's going to be an even bigger problem for them. So, really, it comes down to point to places that are low income, because the more low income you have, the much slower they're going to be to introducing this. Or when they do introduce it, there's going to be a lot of people with their hands in the hands in your pocket, I guess would be the way to say it. Their hands in the cookie jar, whatever. You know what I mean. Yeah, but owning an EV definitely changed your opinion. Go to ABPR online and look at the charging networks. But charging networks isn't the point. The point is, can you charge at home? Can you charge at home for cheap? Actually, that is specifically the issue, is can you charge at home for cheap? And my whole point is, I think Tesla wants to make a play for, if you're not charging at home for cheap, Tesla wants to be the one that has its hands in the cookie jar, in your pocket, in your wallet. I don't know, however that expression goes. Elon Musk wants to own a part of that. I think that was the core of this assertion, is Elon Musk wants to have a part of all the charging that doesn't happen at home. And hey, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be that wrong about this. It's going to be, this is all well and good for people who can afford it and live in places where it's going to be reasonable and accessible to do this. Many other charging networks exist, and together are much bigger than Tesla. Right. But Tesla's also trying to make their thing an official standard that presumably everyone else is supposed to support. And I give it time. I really think that this is a play, or this is the first step towards a play that Tesla's probably going to be pushing for. And maybe not. Maybe nothing will come of this. And if nothing comes of this, in all likelihood, that's probably because they failed. Not because they aren't trying. Just they failed to accomplish the bad thing that they were kind of on the path to doing. Okay, so anyway. They all have to be compatible with the same standard according to the new infrastructure rules. Let's see. Is it that they have to be compatible to the same specific standard? Have they already chosen that standard? And does anybody own licensing rights to said standard? Because these are all pretty credible questions that factor in. And again, I hold to the theory that I think Tesla wants to be that standard, or among those standards, or however it's going to be operated. Anyway, so kind of eager to move on from this one. Payment standard and J1772 charger adapter. Okay, so the payment standard I don't think factors in here. I could be wrong, but I don't think Tesla is trying to take over the payment standard. Because they've made no efforts that I'm aware of to try to squeeze into that. Obviously, they take a cut of whatever charging people do, but they're not trying to replace payment gateways or anything like that. The J1772 charger adapter. Yeah. That is, again, I don't know that that's necessarily what they're going for with this. but we'll see. I hold that this is going to become there is a territory, there is a way in which this is going to get messy. Count this as my prediction. Anyway, I'm going to move on because I don't think that there's anywhere we can go from here that's going to make it any clearer. So speaking of, let's see, which of these two topics to hit? I'll go YouTube. I feel like YouTube's the more fun of these two. Okay, so the new head of YouTube, Neil Mohan, he's been in his official seat as the head of YouTube for what, a week, something like that, and he's now speaking out with his goals, his priorities of 2023, and some of these are kind of funny, or I thought they were kind of funny, at least reading the 9 to 5 summary on this stuff plus his specific comments. So first out of the gate, supporting creators is the first tentpole of the 2023 priorities, with Mohan sharing how YouTube's quote, more than doubled the number of creators and partners who can get live help through chat or email last year. So right out of the gate, this is really funny because he's literally saying, yeah, we hired some support staff. And yes, this is a big problem YouTube has had, but it's also kind of funny because it doesn't solve a lot of the problems that YouTube has had. YouTube should not be saying, we hired more people to answer your questions. It should be saying, we fixed the things that you guys had problems with. So, and I know, maybe that's not a fair criticism, and obviously he just stepped in, so that's not really something he's had a big part of. But I feel like at a certain point, the complaints people have about YouTube aren't necessarily that they aren't finding people that they can contact, or that the support staff isn't big enough. It's that all too often the support staff is just straight up like ignoring them. They don't respond, and not for lack of number of people, but because they don't want to deal with certain types of complaints and issues, and getting through to them is really, really tough. Also, perhaps I think one of the biggest issues is it says more than double the number of creators and partners. Okay, they said that wrong, but oh, sorry. They double the number of creators and partners who can get live help, which really just means that they double the number of people they have working the help lines. But it's specifically for the people. Let's be honest. It's not for creators and partners. It's for partners. It's for the limited group of people that YouTube has monetized or cares about because they're large channels. It's not for everybody, and that to me stands out as probably one of the bigger issues, because it is a well-known problem that you cannot get through to YouTube if you're not a pretty significant large channel. So yeah, I kind of just think that that's lip service as usual. But you know, I don't know. Let's see. Next up was in terms of quote building for the YouTube of the future, the focus on optimizing the television experience continues. YouTube highlighted the Shorts player on televisions and the Primetime Channel store for third-party streaming services. This feels like it was meant a little bit more for the investors portion. because obviously, like the shorts player for televisions, that is somewhat relevant to regular people, or regular channels, but yeah, it feels more like this is a way of saying that they want to feature making YouTube more appealing to other companies to work with them. The same kind of goes with the next one. NFL Sunday Ticket was also discussed. Let's see. And creators will quote, and creators will connect with sports fans through coverage and commentary. Sunday Ticket will also come with ways to engage with other fans, including comments, chats, and polls. Coming later this year to YouTube TV, a new feature that lets viewers watch multiple games at once. So picture in picture probably. This is targeting a fairly specific group, which, hey, football fans are a pretty large group, so that's valid. But it feels a lot like that's targeting not so much the creator side of things, but more just how can we make this how can we make YouTube more profitable for investors and whoever else. No objection to that. That makes sense. It just stands out. Let's see. The next one up was work on YouTube podcasts was reiterated, but no timeline on availability in YouTube Music. Let's see. New features in YouTube Studio make it easier to publish podcasts, and we'll also start bringing both audio and video first podcasts to the millions of people who use YouTube Music in the United States, with more regions to come. And later this year, RSS integration will offer podcasters another way to upload their shows to YouTube and give our users more listening options, which presumably means stuff will be published so that you can use regular RSS or regular podcast apps to pull your podcast, which is great. And kind of awesome because a lot of podcasts that don't have good ways to host will be able to actually publish to YouTube. That's actually awesome. It's not like that can't be done elsewhere, but free publishing on YouTube and always available service, that's good news. The caveat to this, I'm still curious if YouTube is planning on stuffing like ads into the audio files. Little nervous that's coming. We'll see. Looking ahead, AI was mentioned as a way to reinvent video and make the seemingly impossible possible. More will be announced in coming months, with built-in generative AI-powered capabilities possibly becoming a competitive advantage for video platforms going forward. To quote Neil's comments, it said, creators will be able to expand their storytelling and raise their production value from virtually swapping outfits to creating a fantastical film setting through AI's generative capabilities. Worried I am. On the one hand, this could be really great as just like, sort of what VTubers do already. But it's also possible this will become just a really, really cringy kind of thing. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But I have a feeling it's going to be kind of like anytime you watch anything that's gone, or see anything that's gone through a lot of filters. Just a bunch of sort of stuff that feels lazy when you see it. I don't know. That it's just a weird feeling. Could be wrong, but we shall see. Let's see. In the short term, look out for this year. We'll roll out a creation tool that lets creators record a short in a side-by-side layout with both shorts and YouTube videos, so they can easily add their own take on a trend or join in with reactions. So exactly the thing that TikTok has had for a while. Can't say I blame them. It's a popular gimmick, and it'll work. Yeah. So on the plus side, it's, from the sound of it, not a lot is changing. It doesn't sound like he's trying to create any big pushes in any weird directions. It's a lot of stay the course and plan for the future. But also, I gotta admit, I was kind of hoping to hear more. Especially with this first part. Supporting creators is... yeah. But the part about creators, I was kind of hoping that they might have better answers there. Like, they at one point, a few months back, they promised that they were going to introduce more ways for creators to, obviously, you know, this is part of where I'm interested, ways for creators with smaller channels to start making some sort of money. Either through lowering some of the requirements to get monetized, or possibly one of the things I know, at least I don't remember if this was public, but I've heard it mentioned, kind of in the quiet hush-hush rumors, that they wanted to start working with people to do sort of custom ad placement within videos. So not just the typical, we're going to stuff an ad into your video, and if people watch it, then yay. But also actually working with channels that fit within their particular category. There was talk of that. I don't know what's happened with it, but it seems to have disappeared. There's also been talk about like basically setting up affiliate sales in a way that works for the channel. So it wouldn't just be YouTube suggesting a product, it would actually be like kind of a collaboration with whoever makes the channel. They can identify items, and there would be sort of a shared affiliate sale on this. It seems like none of that's happening, which kind of, or rather it's not happening at an open level. And that I think is kind of disappointing. So I was hoping he would have a little bit more to say. I'm not surprised that he doesn't, but it would be really, really nice to see a little more consideration on those kinds of levels. Let's see. Yeah, so that was about it on that one. My final topic, I think, unless somebody has something else specific to suggest, the good old roadmap for Meta's AR and VR hardware. I actually had very little to say about this. I read through this whole thing. I think that there was, I don't know. I'm trying to remember what I even thought and felt about it then. What stood out to me is basically everything they want to make is either a little bit or a lot more expensive than everything they've already come out with. They're definitely going all in on this, which I found a little bit cringy. The Moto Riser, I don't know what this was about. Oh, the rollable phone that got shown off. Yeah, okay, I'll throw that one in the back burner and take a look at it in a second. Okay, anyway, so what were the big notable points for this? Austin thought the timeline was stretched, especially for the non-AR glasses. It seems like it seems honestly kind of like they're promising a lot and planning to disappoint. I won't go back over everything that's in this article because it's long enough and I don't remember specific dates, but what I kind of got is they're trying to aggressively launch new products, and I don't think they can maintain that unless those products have all been in simultaneous development for a pretty long time. But it seems like Meta is aiming to be like super quick to getting out new stuff, and they're targeting multiple groups. It's not just the Quest anymore. Now it seems like they're going after the gaming crowd, the social crowd, and the business crowd, all with kind of different products targeting each one. Gaming and social obviously kind of overlap a lot, but it seems like they're trying to hit the business crowd simultaneously, and they want to get products out in really rapid succession for all different price levels. And honestly, I think that's highly optimistic. But we'll see. One thing that did stand out to me, and kind of in a meta discussion, I apologize for saying that. One of the things that they said is they're trying to get, or they were having a problem with new users staying engaged. The article mentions a quote from one of them that said, okay, I'll just read this passage up here. He acknowledged that the current Quest is struggling to keep new users engaged. Quote, right now, we're on our third year of Quest 2. And sadly, the new cohorts that are coming in, the people who bought it this last Christmas, they're just not into it. The ones who bought it early seem to be the ones who are actually sticking to it. Or rather, they're more engaged. This brought back to mind what was said, or what has been said quite a few times with people defending the AR and VR side, which is game consoles combined don't add up to as many Quest 2s that have been sold. Setting aside some, I think, reasonable doubts that Facebook is telling the entire truth about how many Quest 2s have sold, what stands out to me about this is this kind of confirms, at least partially, something that a lot of people have been saying, which is most people who buy a game console, they don't just buy it and throw it in a drawer a month later. Most people who buy a game console keep using it. Whereas this really backs up the notion that people are buying VR headsets, and obviously a lot of the new ones, they're throwing them in drawers pretty quickly, and some portion of the early adopters obviously were too. And I kind of have a feeling that this is on a curve already. So people who got it very recently and just not into it, that's probably a big portion of it. The people who bought a year ago, I'm sure more of them are more engaged, or I'm assuming that's kind of what's implied here. But I have a feeling that quite a few of them probably have also given up on it, or, gotten bored of it. And there may be some early adopters who are just hardcore addicts, but you got to figure there's a point where most of these people probably are kind of losing interest. They at some point probably kind of duck out. And once you duck out on something like this, some sort of content has to come out to bring you back. And I think that's where they struggle. Whereas with a lot of game systems, game consoles, chances are you might still have those connected to your TV, so you watch Netflix or some streaming service on there. you might still have them connected so that you can watch movies in a Blu-ray drive, or you might be using them for a game that you play consistently. I know that there are things like that on Quest, or the Quest, whichever, but it's not as much. You don't have a lot of people going on to play like to go on like weekly raids with the Quest the same way that you do with game consoles. So I think that that's what's really going to be the sticking issue, and I kind of wonder how sales are going to do when the next models come out. Will they sell in the same numbers? Are they going to sell a lot lower? I kind of have a sneaking suspicion they're going to sell a bit lower. Not like egregiously so, but not to the level that I'm sure Meta would hope. And I don't know if I like that I'm calling it Meta, or if I just want to go back to calling it Facebook. Because holy crap, it just feels so dumb calling them by the name Meta. I hate that name. Anyway. What was the other thing? Okay, yeah, this was the other part. Where does it begin? Okay. I think this is, no, that's not it. Oh, okay. Why did my phone just... Oh, that screen just blinked on for a second. That was really weird. Okay, seems fine. Okay, anyway. It says Meta is planning to rely on its existing business model of advertising to help it make money off these future devices. Heimel said the company thinks it can make a higher average revenue per user than what it makes currently in social media, thanks to a combination of selling virtual goods, optional add-ons like cloud backups, and AR ads. Just gonna say it, I can't think of anything worse than AR ads. That unless those are the least intrusive ads you can possibly imagine while still being AR ads, this to me, I'm expecting the worst version of blinking text that could ever exist. I'm expecting this is going to be like all of people's worst nightmares about like the cyberpunk style worlds where you go walking through like the Times Square location and all you have is ads pumping at you from all directions. I'm expecting the absolute worst here, and I think with good reason. We know Facebook is not good at being. They're not good at holding themselves back. So, and AR ads, if they're given the prominence that I'm sure people want to give them, or within Facebook, and the advertisers themselves, if they have that kind of level of prominence, they're going to be very intrusive. And I cannot conceive of anybody wanting that experience. I'm sure some people will take it, and if it can go far enough in subsidizing stuff, there will be people who accept it. But I think it's going to be absolutely horrendous. Let's see. He goes on to say, we should be able to run a very good ads business. I think it's easy to imagine how ads will show up in a space when you have AR glasses on. Our ability to track conversations, which is where there has been a lot of focus as a company, should also be close to 100%. Sorry, I said conversations, I meant conversions. Our ability to track conversions should be close to 100%. Conversations would be creepy as hell. Conversions are already creepy enough, actually. So, let's see. If we're hitting anything near projections, it will be a tremendous business, he said. A business unlike anything we've seen on mobile phones before. Is it wrong to say I'm really skeptical? I I just I think that they are they're going to be unpleasantly surprised by the outcome of this. And I think we will too. I I feel like Facebook is going to give us the worst version of what is likely to come. And it's going to take some other companies making something and just accepting that they're not going to make as much money off of it. I think those are where everyone's going to want to go for this. But unfortunately, I think Facebook's, they're trying to own this market. Fortunately, and yes, fortunately, we have other more civil companies in the mix. Apple obviously wants to get into this business. Google's getting into this business. Who was the other? I know there was one more. They mentioned Snap. Which, okay. Obviously Sony has VR for gaming. There are multiples here, and I think that's good news. But I don't know what's... I do not see Facebook being a good player here. Or at the very least, I don't see them putting out a good experience, because they're going to be trying to make too much money off of literally everything. Plus, I can't think of a company I trust less with having cameras pointed directly at my eyes. What the hell? Just saw the screen do something weird again. Oppo, InReal, Xiaomi, and like 50 other Qualcomm partners. Yeah, everybody wants into this market. Which I haven't used one of the more recent models, so I can't speak to how good they are. But I feel like from what I've seen and what a lot of people are saying, at least anyone that I've heard talking about it extensively, that is I don't want to discount people who like it. So I don't want to say like credible. I don't want to call those their statements non-credible. But a lot of people I've heard who are being, I think, justly critical. My issue here is almost everyone still says VR is still several years. Well, VR and AR are still several years from actually being legitimately good. Like, they're fun to use. You can certainly play games and do a lot with them. I'm not hearing anybody saying otherwise to that. What I'm hearing is this is still a long way from giving you good high-res screens, like truly high-res. It's still a good long way from really having the ability to show you complex scenes. I've heard that a lot of the AR experiences, while they're cool, they're not polished enough yet. So we're still a lot of people are saying we're still several years away from having the experiences that we want to have, and we can still see too many holes in the experience that we get. So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I'm happy that there are other companies doing this, because Facebook isn't going to be the one that dominates this, and their head start, I think, in the long run is not going to matter, or at least I hope it doesn't matter. Because I can't think of a company that I'd be more concerned about. We're several years away from good light field AR displays. Yeah, we're definitely several years away from a lot of these things, but due to that, I think it's a good thing, because we're not going to see Facebook take over. They're going to try to muscle their way around, and to some extent that does concern me. That's not great, but I think I think we have at least the advantage of being able to see other competitors are going to come in and at the very least hold their ground. So Facebook does not just completely overwhelm everybody. So yeah, I guess yet again I'm saying, please let's not allow a monopoly. That may be kind of the theme of this stream is let's please not allow monopolies. Do not pass go, do not collect the entire market on VR. Well, VR and AR. Yeah, so anyway, that about covers that one. Austin, you brought up the Moto Riser. Spelled creatively. Okay, so I guess we'll hop into Ars Technica for this one. Really cool expanding display, but durability and battery issues hold it back. Oh, yeah, well, the battery issues I think were a given. Durability I'm not surprised by. Do we have... here we go. The inevitable video. Because nothing in these can ever be good unless... Wow. Janky video? Yeah, just janky video. Okay, it's playing like garbage on my side. I'm not sure what is necessarily being picked up for you guys. Anyway. Okay, really quick. I glanced at my notifications. It's your Twitter anniversary. Celebrate with a special with a special tweet created just for you. How bad is this going to be? You joined 10 years ago today. Share the big day with others in your Twitter community. This is actually not my first account, so it technically was much longer back, but whatever. Yeah, I won't be doing that, but thanks. Anyway, okay, so do we have a good video? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it looks really cool. But I can't not look at this and think... One, obviously, yeah, this is going to have massive durability issues. Because you're going to have what is basically a folding screen rolling across a bottom edge. It is bound to be easy to break. Let's see, I'm curious. Actually, I guess with this picture that they did, let's see, it's not as small as Moto's Razor, and who knows how durable it will be if you drop it or dump it in your pocket unprotected. Odd choice of words. But if anyone tells you phones are boring, show them this. Okay. I don't know who's holding this. I'm a little bit that's kind of what I'm curious about, because in a lot of these demos, a lot of times they won't actually let people hold the device. Instead, what they typically like to do is hold it for you. Oh my god, that is way, 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 way too thin and tiny. Oh my god, that is nuts. That's gonna break like a potato chip. Oh, and it rolls it's on the outside. If you look close at this, you can see. What are they thinking? It looks like the display is on front, because down here at the bottom, if you look at it, it wraps, the black edge of that screen actually wraps on the outside. This is ludicrous. So yeah, it's not even inside of a track, like it's actually rolling along the outside, which is neat. That's a cool thing for it to be able to do, but this is gonna break so easily. That's no. This, I can't wait to see people buy this, and within a day, there are gonna be so many YouTube videos showing, oh my god, I broke my new phone. Yeah, this is gonna be real bad. But hey, it is what it is. That's kind of what people were wanting, I guess. Let's see, who else had a good view on this thing? Okay, yeah. So they're calling it a concept phone, which is good, because that's what it should be. Okay, so that the Ars Technica, or the tweet that Ars Technica linked to, that did not have a clear case on it. This one does, and yeah, you're right. It has plastic down here at the bottom, which wraps around the lower portion, which, yeah, I would say confirms that this is way, way too fragile for them to actually have out normally. They probably had, I bet for the Ars Technica, or well, the tweet that Ars Technica linked to, I bet they probably did that in private, where either a very trusted person was allowed to hold the phone, or more than likely it was one of their PR people who was very careful. They, this doesn't get talked about a lot, but with concept phones, with prototypes or early stuff that they're showing off, a lot of times that stuff, they will not let members of the press even hold it. They're not allowed to touch it. They can stand there and film it. They can watch as you use it, but it's almost always one of those things where a PR agent holds it the entire time. Because they do not want people to feel how fragile something is. They don't want people to accidentally, and yes, I air quote that because it often is an accident if anything happens, but not always. But they don't want to give the possibility for something bad to happen to that prototype and have that then be reported all over the internet. Obviously, they also don't want to lose their prototypes and early release, or like pre-release models, but there's also an extent of they don't want anyone to call it fragile, and if it gets broken, it will be called fragile. Wow, that title. Well, I don't disagree that it's not the smartest design, because it is very breakable. But it is cool that they're making it. I won't fault that. I do appreciate that companies are trying stuff. But I think you have to have a telescoping frame. Honestly, that's what this is. You have to have a telescoping frame. You can't just have a screen, a display that sticks up. You have to have, the whole thing needs to expand up so that you have this nice frame that can at least protect it to some extent. And the display ideally should probably be rolling up into a protected spot, not just a hidden, or not just behind the device. But hey, you never know. I am curious what'll come of it when we start seeing this stuff happen as a real product. Because this is cool to look at, but right now it is, I would say, not suited to be sold. But someday, maybe. Maybe. Austin also pointed out, and I read this like 6 times and it didn't click what you meant, but it rolls to the back, giving you a selfie screen. I kept reading it and it just didn't click to me what you were saying, but yeah, with the screen going to the back of the phone, it makes sense. It's going to give you, you'll have the camera right there pointed at you, the good camera, not just a front-facing camera. But yeah, it'll point at you and gives you some portion of the screen that will be showing you. And that is cool. I fully acknowledge the coolness of that. But yeah, I think that this is probably still a bad design. They came up with one cool function and kind of ruined the rest. But hey, we'll see. Anyway, with that, I don't think I have much else to hit. And we're getting pretty close to 6, so yeah, I think now is probably a good time to close up. Let's see, for gaming schedule, it should be basically the same as I've been trying to do, which means Saturday, probably going to game, probably just going to play Fall Guys, I think. I haven't quite decided, but I am truly caught up with The Last of Us now, so Fall Guys would just kind of make sense for a Saturday stream. Sunday, probably not streaming. Depending on how things go, there is a small chance that I might shift that, so I might do Sunday streaming instead of Saturday, but we'll see. And then Monday night should be a stream based on The Last of Us. I think. That is likely the plan. And then we'll see where it goes from there. Anyway, with that, thank you all for coming by, hanging out, being part of the conversation, keeping me chatting. Anyone who'd like to support the channel, there are links down below to Streamlabs, Cash App, and Patreon. Feel free to help out the channel, keep it alive, keep it kicking. And thanks, of course, to you guys who already do that. You guys are awesome, David and Austin. And of course, Diablo as well. Let's see. What else? I think that's about it. So, I blanked whatever it was I was thinking I was about to say. I totally lost that. Anyway, I hope you guys have an excellent rest of the week. Hope to see you in Discord as usual. And with that, good night, everybody.